There is one important difference between Ezekiel's heavenly temple and John's New Jerusalem. Whereas the east gate of the heavenly temple was closed by commandment of the Lord, every gate at the New Jerusalem will be open all day, so that the righteous may freely enter. This change signals the transition from pre-millennial to millennial temples, as Emanuel Velikovsky described in his Worlds in Collision. Opening the temple doors on the east will serve as both warning and indicator of the second coming. In order to better understand the orientation of temples and the opening and closing of their doors, including those of early Latter-day Saint temples, we must first understand the planetary archetypes for the gates of the heavenly temple and city. After all, terrestrial temples are simply models of the heavenly pattern. David Talbot explained the principle and then listed the key attributes of the original archetypes: central post, circular form, and sacred entrance. We have already discussed examples of this archetype. Stonehenge, as reconstructed, fits the pattern perfectly. Outside the rock structure proper are two circular earthen embankments, the outer walls of the sanctuary, with the primary entranceway at the northeast. Inside the embankments, in the center, is the well-known henge, a circular series of stone trilithons. Within the stone circle is a horseshoe structure, opening at the northeast. At its very center is a stone pillar. This central pillar is aligned with two outer stones along what is called the avenue, the main entrance to the temple. As Talbot described, we find a circular wall, central post or pillar, and a sacred entrance or gate at the northeast. The St. Peter's Square is another perfect fit to the pattern. There's a circular enclosure of pillars. Within the circle, at the center, is an obelisk, the center pillar or post. Extending eastward is the main entrance to the square. The archetype of the circular city temple with a central pillar and main entry gate was first constructed in the heavens. It was the great wheel of heaven resting upon the pillar-like axis mundi. The great wheel was the heavenly enclosure, the prototype of the sacred cities and temples on earth. David Talbot explains.
The created land of the gods, emerging from the dance of the goddess and the hero, presented four streams of light and life. Here was the motherland in the sky, the celestial model for every kingdom and city on earth, the lost land of mythic ancestors, divided by four rivers or animated by four explosive winds and turning as a great wheel in the sky.
The four rivers dividing the heavenly kingdom became the four rivers dividing the Garden of Eden. The central pillar became the trees of knowledge and of life. The intersection of the four rivers, or winds, with the wall of the enclosure became the four gates at the cardinal directions. The luminous spiral that formed the circular enclosure either took a squared or rectangular shape or was simply presented as such, forming the basis of the rectangular or square temple. But before there were four gates of the heavenly city temple, there were only two. The archetype of the two gates of heaven was a variation of the twin-peaked mountain. The twin-peaked mountain was the termination of the world mountain, the axis mundi at the crescent. The two peaked ends of the crescent formed the twin peaks of the mountain.
The cosmic mountain revered around the world possessed a uniquely interesting feature. The towering hill terminated in a spectacular crescent. From one land to another, we see this crescent presented mythically as twin peaks with a remarkable story to tell.
Within the peaks of the mountain rested the ancient sun god Saturn, called by the Egyptians Ra.
A well-known Egyptian hieroglyph places the sign of the ancient sun god Ra between two peaks. But what does this mean? The glyph is typically translated as the horizon, as if it signifies the geographic place of sunrise. But many specialists have already acknowledged that the subject is a cosmic mountain.
Not knowing the ancient state of cosmic affairs, modern scholars confuse the image with our current sun, placing the twin peaks at the sunrise, the east. This is the origin of the notion of the appearance of the sun at the eastern gate.